you bring your protective clothing?
Oh, my God.
Once they get your address, they never leave you alone, do they? Oh, well.
Oh, God!
Get Freddie.
Surtax!
Yes.
Well, I sent him a stinking great check a couple of months ago, big enough to refloat the World Bank.
That was for Schedule D.
Well, I have to bloody well wait. I haven't got the money.
Well, the surtax department will wait, but it'll also charge you interest while it waits.
Well, where the hell do they think I'm going to get it from? Freddie, can't you just nip round to them and have a word with them?
Easily. They're usually very charming and understanding people, but I'm afraid they'd say they're only implementing the law as it stands.
Oh, yes. Didn't Eichmann say that?
And it is, in fact, a tax you must have been aware of on money you've already received.
Last year?
Nevertheless.
Freddie, for God's sake, we're living in a 6% inflationary spiral. It costs me more each year to run my business to achieve the same turnover. To increase it costs twice as much. To run my business this year, I've got to use money I earned last year, which has already decreased in value. And by the time I get this year to the place where I was last year, there's not a lot left to affect any increase with. And if I don't affect an increase, I'll go under. But if I do affect an increase, I'll be taxed on it again. So can't you just nip round to them and explain to them that when I finish doing all this, there's damn all left for the bastards?
I could. They're clearly expecting you to hit some jackpot, the big deal.
Oh, yeah. So where's their risk?
They'll still charge you interest until you do pay.
When I was a lad, there was a big slogan, export or die. They had a big exhibition about it, as I remember. And if they had it now, they'd have to change the slogan. Make it export and die, by slow strangulation.
I remember that exhibition.
Yes, and I bet you learned a lot, Freddie, the shape of things to come. I think the world is run by accountants now. We do all the work, and you live on our agony.
Well, it's a very well-upholstered agony, Joe. Now, what exactly do you have in the pipeline? Real contracts, not just optimism.
Not much.
So, we have to find you some money, do we?
Well, what are you doing in Bond Street at this time of day? Tell me you've got an expensive mistress asking for praises. Oh, sit down, Walter.
He paints a very glamorous picture of me, doesn't he?
Now, this is Miss Amanda Norton.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Walpole Gibbon, civil servant and fascist hyena. Well, have a coffee, Walpole.
Thank you.
Well, I must be going.
Oh, must you?
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I have to. I'll call you, Joe.
Fine.
Goodbye, Mr. Gibb.
Goodbye. Ah, who was that?
Well, do you like it?
A very intelligently built girl.
She's what's called bait.
For what? And don't overexcite me.
Well, she works for an American arms dealer, A.J. Giddings.
That's rather big league for you, isn't it?
Well, as you know, it's not allowed for an alien to tender for British armaments. And A.J. Giddings wants me to do a deal on some surplus stuff.
Ah, I see. He wants you to act as his front man. Well, that's all perfectly legal. I don't think you need to tell me about it.
Well, I wouldn't if I was going to do it.
And she's a representative?
Yes, well, you see, whereas an English firm would send around someone wearing a bowler hat, A.J. Giddings sends around someone with a...
Yeah. And you're not going to succumb to her blandishments?
Well, not in the way A.J. Giddings would like me to, but she won't know about that for a couple of days either.
You do lead a glamorous life, Joe. I shall think about you as I'm nibbling my chocolate biscuit in the office.
Well, all is not lost, Walpole. A.J. Giddings hasn't got it all cornered yet. Gold is where you find it.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I'm so sorry.
I think we'll have another coffee, please. Black, I should think. Watch it, Walpole. It costs you just to look, you know. It either goes on your bill here or at your doctor's.
Unfortunately, I'm on the National Health. Well, now, I hear you've been out of the Middle East and just back. Good trip?
Yeah, not bad.
Well, see, it's like that. Well, don't say anything if you don't want to.
Come on, Walpole. You know where I've been and who I've met. All I'm trying to do is to keep the sun from entirely setting on British heavy engineering.
I hear you called in at Sabat on your way back.
Yeah. You hear a lot of things, don't you? Did your mother call you Big Ears?
No, she called me Walpole, actually. Do any business?
A little bit. Not much to write home about.
No, I don't suppose Rashid'll be too happy to hear you've been selling arms on his longest frontier.
Won't worry him.
Anything over .22 millimeters aimed in his direction worries Rashid. Then he starts worrying us.
I doubt it.
I wish I had your confidence. Hello, that's all nice.
They come from the model agency across the road.
You come here for the torture, do you?
No, there are more urgent things in life than that. Look, Walpole, I don't want to spoil your view, but you don't have any friends in Inland Revenue, do you?
Has anybody?
I think the amount of business I bring into this country that they can be persuaded to soft pedal on me a bit until things loosen up.
Are you being done?
No, I think castrated is more the word you're looking for. On top of which, I got the back payments on the mortgage of the villa in Malta.
Oh, you're making me bleed, Joe. The agony of a villa in Malta.
I don't suppose your department's open to bribery, is it?
Unfortunately, no, or I'd have a villa in Malta. Well, Portugal, actually.
I don't mean accepting them, I mean handing them out. Why don't you bribe me to go out and do a bit more business on behalf of the economy?
Can I borrow your new Jag to go round and suggest it?
I don't know. This country is going to sink under the mire of your lack of imagination, Walpole.
Yeah, I know that worries me a lot, too, sometimes, but I try and live with it insofar as my limited income will allow. But another thing that does worry me is if you can't pay your tax bills, why do you come to Bond Street for your coffee? I believe the treat is on you.
I'll tell you what, Walpole, we'll go Dutch, shall we? The Dutch have always had a very sound economy.
Yeah, so not a lot of friends.
Walpole, you make things easy for me, and I'll buy you one of those for Christmas.
Couldn't afford to run it. Well, thanks for the lift, Joe.
Give him my love.
I'll do that. God, that bloody eagle gets bigger every day.
Mr. Gibb, how very kind of you to drop in. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Splendid, thank you. Absolutely splendid. Well, we haven't seen each other in some time, have we? I've been back in the States, as you know.
Yes, I have.
I can't get over how well you're looking. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. May I introduce two colleagues of mine? Mr. Kronberger
Very pleased to meet you, Mr.
and Mr. Kronpacker.
My pleasure.
Now, let's make ourselves comfortable, shall we?
Thank you.
Can I get you some tea?
No, thank you very much.
Or, anything?
Not to me.
Ah, well, this is nice. This is very, very nice. I can't get over how well you're looking.
No, really? Well, you're looking very fit yourself.
Ah, well, I make a fetish of it. Kronberger and Krumpacker here, I'm sure they won't mind if you just want to call them Sam and Walt, particularly wanted to meet you, Mr.
Ah, indeed. Why was that?
Well, I'm sure they can speak for themselves. They're big boys now, aren't you, fellas?
I think so, Mr. Mayhew.
How can I help you, gentlemen?
I beg your pardon.
Oh, I'm sorry. After you.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Gibb, through your work in the department, we thought you might know a man named Hine. Joseph Hine?
Yes. Why?
And your wife rang up.
Did she? Did she say what about?
Yes, she said you'd be in London this evening, and would you have dinner with her?
Do what?
She said it was entirely a matter of business.
What kind of business?
She doesn't actually take me into her confidence.
All right.
Shall I ring her, or will you?
You realize, Mr. Gibb, that we look on this entire area of the Middle East as being very, brittle, very,
Tender?
Right.
raw, extremely raw.
Yes. Our government has always regarded this area as one in which the least imbalance could cause
Trouble?
Yes, quite. You're dead right there. Yes, I'd say trouble. Quite, yes.
However, it's not an area where we have any direct influence.
this is purely an amiable discussion, Mr. Gibb, and I'm sure that you can understand our government's position in this matter.
Oh, quite. However, Her Majesty's government has no particular...
Sabat figures very deeply in our thinking in this sphere.
Sabat does.
Very.
Very.
You see, if you think of the Federated Republic on the one hand as being one side of the scales, and the treaty states on the other hand as being the other side of the scales, centered around Rashid, and one has to think of Sabat as being the fulcrum, or the...
Point of balance?
Point of balance. Exactly.
Actually, a fulcrum is not a point of balance, a point of leverage. Or leverage, as you'd say.
Well, whatever point of whatever it is, the point of issue is this. We feel that it would be of no particular advantage to anyone at all that arms, over and above the agreed amount, should at this point in time be sold to Sabat. And we feel that very strongly, Mr. Gibb.
Now you do.
Mr. Gibb, have you any idea why Mr. Hine visited Sabat this week?
None whatsoever. He tells me almost nothing. We might as well be married.
He is a dealer in weapons.
Fully licensed.
And therefore comes under your controls, your departments.
I beg your pardons?
No. He's a freelance. He works through us, with us from time to time when he's selling British. We don't control him. Influence, assist, watch, obstruct him, but not control.
Well, Sabat's hardly the kind of country you go for the scenery unless you're heavily hooked on sand dunes.
Hooked on sand dunes, that's good, Walt.
Presumably the majority of the weapons he sells are manufactured in this country.
To a great extent. After all, my department exists to promote the sale of weapons manufactured in this country.
We're looking for a little cooperation here, Mr. Gibb.
I must repeat, Her Majesty's government has no fixed policy as regards Sabat.
Her Majesty's government does have interests in the treaty states where we do have influence.
Please don't try and lean on me, Mr.
Cornpacker.
My department...
Come, gentlemen. This is an amiable discussion. No one is leaning, Mr. Gibb. Now, what are we here for? We're here to talk. Isn't that what we're here for? Well, then let's talk. As friends.
Well, then, perhaps Mr. Gibb could tell us if Mr. Hine, to his knowledge, has accomplished any deal in weaponry with the Sabat government.
To my knowledge, I believe he has, yes.
And what would that be for, I wonder?
I know as little as you do.
He has to be called off, Mr. Gibb. Or there'll be hell to pay both in Whitehall and in Washington. And then we'll all be on the mat.
Oh, dear. Dear me.
Well, I suppose you could try and buy him off. Come to think of it, he has got income tax problems. Now, wait a minute, gentlemen. I was only joking.
Hello, Walpole. Get a pay rise. I only ever seem to meet you in the more expensive places these days.
Oh, I sometimes drop in for the nuts. I can't really afford the drinks. You going to buy me one?
Does being in the civil service make you mean, Walpole, or do you have to be mean before they'll take you on?
Well, you see, the present government is insisting we cut expenditure.
Oh, I see. Charles, 2 scotches, please, and make one of them very, very small.
Yes, Mr. Hine. I'm glad I ran into you, actually. There's a comedy act from Washington after your blood.
Well, they can't have it. I'm using it. Who are they?
They're called Kronberger and Krumpacker.
They're members of Equity.
They want to meet you.
Well, tell them not to bother blacking out for it and to bring their own music. What are they? CIA?
I had a feeling they were DIA.
DIA? They're starting to extend themselves a bit recently. I ran into a couple of them in Sabat.
Did you indeed? No, thank you. Well, therein may hang a tale.
Why, is that what it is?
Something like that. I gather Pentagon policy at the moment is that Sabat should remain as a hollow vacuum between the two political groupings.
But even the Americans must know that nature abhors a vacuum. Things rush in to fill it up. Are they going to rush in to fill it up?
At the moment, I think they want to leave it as a gap.
Oh, I see. I believe that when I see it. Do you know, I think that the Americans learnt their foreign policy from that little Dutch boy.
Little Dutch boy?
The little Dutch boy who's saved his country by sticking his finger into the hole of the dike. The Americans can't see a gap anywhere without getting to work with their busy fingers.
They're going to lean on you. They're very serious.
Are they? Well, so am I. Next time you see them, would you tell them that whereas they may be international idealists doing it for the best of possible reasons, I'm just a poor local capitalist doing it for the money. I didn't have the benefit of liberal education that makes me question my own motives.
As a matter of fact, I'm meeting them here for dinner.
Are you?
Would you like to meet them?
Walpole, I don't think you do just come here for the nuts, do you?
We're very sorry, Mr. Gibb.
We kept you waiting.
We got held up.
Queue for taxis?
Outside the Hilton, the traffic. My God, the traffic.
We're awfully sorry.
Oh, not at all. Now, let me...
I'd say Variety Artists Federation.
May I introduce you to Mr. Kronberger?
How do you do?
And Mr. Krumpecker.
My pleasure.
This gentleman is Mr. Hine.
Oh, well, that's very nice.
Very nice.
Good. Well, it's nice. That's nice, isn't it? I always like it when it's nice.
Now, can we get you both a drink?
Well, it's Walpole's round, actually.
Scotch, Mr. Gibb. Mr. Hine, Scotch.
Sit down, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayhew couldn't be here. He's not feeling too well.
Oh, dear. Nothing trivial, I hope.
We've heard a lot about you, Mr. Hine.
And all nice, I'll be bound.
Oh, of course. How about joining us for dinner? We'd like that. Wouldn't we like that?
Certainly.
Well, as a matter of fact, I can't. I'm spoken for.
Oh.
That's very disappointing.
Well, some other time, eh?
May we call you?
All right. I'll bet you'll ring me tomorrow.
How about lunch here tomorrow, say 1 o'clock to save ringing?
Yes, that'll be nice.
Fine.
Well. Now, where were we? Scotch for Mr. Gibb and Scotch for Mr. Hine. Waiter, Scotch, Walt?
Yeah, please. Excuse me, Mr. Gibb, just check the menu.
My God, they are serious, aren't they?
They're professionals.
Yeah. Well, if I'm found under Tower Bridge in a cement waistcoat, everything I own goes to the Anti-Blood Sports Society, or failing that, my mother.
No.
Are you sure you can join us, Mr. Hine?
No, but I can't. I'm dining with my wife.
Oh. Oh, how very nice. She's a charming young lady. I like her very much.
You're getting drunk, Walpole.
Mrs. Hine's waiting in the restaurant.
Is she? Oh, thank you very much. Well, excuse me, gentlemen. I'll see you soon, then, eh? Maybe at the London Palladium. Well, what would you like for starters?
I think I'll have avocado.
Avocado?
No avocado, Mr. Hine. They are too hard. I'm not buying them. They're too hard. Next month, okay. Not this month. Why don't you have stracciatella?
Why don't you have stracciatella?
No. I think I'll have melon.
Melon?
2 melon, 2 steak d'Ian, medium rare. I bring you some vegetables.
Good. Let's have some Valpolicella now, shall we?
Certainly, sir.
Have we ever been able to get avocado here?
I don't think he'll get up in the morning to buy them. Like he can never get your name right. Too hard.
But Mr. Hine. Well, it was nice of you to ask me to dinner.
Not at all.
Why?
I have to come down to London. I don't like eating on my own.
Why do you have to come to London?
I had to see our accountant.
Oh, Freddie. Why, have you got financial problems?
No, I just wanted to see him. He rang me.
What about?
Just to see how I was getting on.
Oh, good. And how are you getting on?
Fine. We open the new branch on the 1st of next month.
You keep this up, they'll be calling you the takeover queen of Manchester.
With 2 offices.
Well, 2 could soon multiply. Has been known.
Yes.
That's fine, just pour it out.
How are you doing?
Great.
Oh, need I ask?
Well, it was nice of you to ask.
You wouldn't say if you weren't, would you? Not to me, anyway.
Well, you know, I'd tell you anything.
Anything but the truth.
I thought I always tell you the truth.
Oh, you only lie about the unimportant things.
Like what?
Like how well you're doing. Freddie says you're in a mess.
Well, Freddie is an old woman.
He says you need a lot of money.
Look, I just happen to be in armaments. I'm not in estate agencies or employment agencies. There are so many people out of work that you're in a growth industry. I've just got a bit of pressure on from an unfortunate quarter, that's all.
He says you need about 25,000.
My God, does he tell you everything? Going to find himself sacked if he goes on like that.
He's only trying to find you some money.
Look, what's this got to do with you?
Well, he's accountant to both of us, and we're not actually divorced. He never seems quite able to get the hang of that.
No, apparently not.
He says you need about 25,000 to cover the income tax and pay the mortgage on the villa in Malta.
Something like that.
Well, you could always sell the villa.
I don't want to sell the villa in Malta.
Why should I? Just because you hate it?
I don't hate it. I just thought it
Look,
might be
I pay
something.
Freddie to think these things out for me. I go out and I work hard and I earn money to buy things. Why should I sell them just because some government department wants to buy something as well? What's mine's my own. Let them borrow it.
I can let you have it. Well, I could sell my business.
Don't be ridiculous.
Well, it would fetch it, but why not?
Well, I mean, it'd be chucking good money away. What would you do after you sold it? Would you come back and live with me?
No.
Well, you'd have to find some more money to support yourself with then, wouldn't you?
I just thought that it might help.
Oh, thank you very much. It doesn't. Well, let's talk about something pleasant, shall we? How's your mother? Thank you. Well, that was a very nice lunch. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Not at all, thank you. We've been very interested in hearing your views on the Middle East, Mr. Hine.
Good.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to get along just fine. Now, perhaps you'll call us tomorrow about your decision.
Sure. Cheers.
Cheers.
You know, this must be my lucky week.
Why is that?
Well, everybody I've had a meal with so far has offered to give me £25,000. And it's only Tuesday. Are you getting addicted, Waldo? Or have you moved your office to Bond Street?
Well, it's quite accidental, actually. I'm interested in buying a picture from a dealer around the corner.
Oh, yeah? Sugar?
Thank you. Well, that's not strictly true.
You amaze me.
I thought I might find you here.
Cream?
You do know what they're up to, don't you?
Well, of course I know.
Yeah?
They've offered me a year's contract for £25,000 to act as extramural consultant, as they put it, on the Central Arab States.
Which means that you'll become a United States employee for a year.
Only with reference to Sabat. I'd have to agree not to pursue any of my own business interests in that area.
Well, they'll keep you out of Sabat. What did you say?
Well, what do you think I said? If I wanted to sing with a high voice in the Vatican choir, I could arrange a cheaper operation than that.
Thought you needed the money.
Did you put them on to me?
Well, I did say jokingly that you had tax problems.
Well, they knew exactly the right amount, didn't they?
I certainly didn't know the amount.
Oh, so they went round to the Inland Revenue.
Well, I don't think the Inland Revenue...
Somebody did, and they knew just the right amount. I mean, they went and asked somebody, and then somebody asked somebody else, and somebody else told somebody, and then somebody went back and told Romulus and Remus, and then they came round and told me.
Well, it's all very difficult at the moment.
It's always very difficult at any moment, Walpole. Why particularly now?
The Americans are invoking an agreement on arms limitation in the area, and we were participants at the conference.
Oh, it's bad luck. I wasn't a participant at any conference.
Well, of course, it's all right for you. You're on your own, aren't you, Joe? You, did say no, did you?
Well, of course I did. I mean, I thought I'd be pleasing you and the British government. And I thought your department existed to promote the sale of British arms abroad, and so help to increase our gross national product and get us all out of this nasty little inflationary spiral somebody or other got us into. Now, don't tell me I was wrong all the time, Walker.
You can do just what you like, of course. You're a free agent.
Anyway, Sabat doesn't come under your conference agreement.
I'm very well aware of that.
Well, somebody's trying to break your arm, then. You developed sadomasochistic tendencies, Walpole.
I haven't asked you to change your decision, have I?
Walpole, how much more do you think they'd pay?
Oh, I'm not going to get into that sort of
Now,
discussion.
come on, Walpole. It's just as disgusting to do something you agree with because you're paid for it as it is to do something you don't agree with because you're told to. If any of it's disgusting in the first place. Don't you think?
I suspect your argument is a piece of arrant sophistry.
What sophistry, Walpole? I don't know what it means.
Specious and fallacious reasoning.
Eh?
An argument intended to deceive.
Well, you may be right. Well, what exactly would your department prefer, then? In words of one syllable.
That you do as they ask. The Americans.
I don't believe you.
Just as you like.
Come on, Walpole. Why not just as you like?
Jeremy! Jeremy, I want you... If you press that and speak quite normally, it requires very little effort. I can hear you in the next room as if you were beside me, apart from which it's new, and although you haven't paid for it yet, it cost £150 to install. Yes, Joe.
Jeremy, you're going to Sabat. Can you leave today? Sue, get a return ticket to Sabat. First possible plane, returning Friday.
Why?
Because I'm telling you to.
Something gone wrong?
No?
What am I supposed to do when I get there?
Well, do anything you like, as long as you call on Sheikh Arullah.
To say what?
Oh, you're very good at conversation, Jeremy. Ask how he is. Remark, perhaps, that you hope he's keeping well and that the weather is very clement in England at the moment. Hope his wives and mistresses are well.
And then what?
And then go back to your hotel. Have a meal, have a drink, if you can get one. Read a book until it's time to sleep, unless you can find a woman, which I doubt you will out there. Have some breakfast, and then get the first plane you can back.
I suppose you know how much a first class... I am going first class.
Oh, first class?
How much a first class ticket costs?
Yes, roughly.
You're trying to get rid of me or something?
No, I love you very much. Why?
Well, we're only supplying Sheikh Arullah with a few hundred piddling crates of ammunition. The profit on that can't be much more than 800 or 900 quid.
Yes, I know that, Jeremy.
Well, a first-class ticket plus hotel bills is going to knock a bloody great hole in that, isn't it?
Might mean we make no profit at all.
Exactly.
Well, are you going to be able to get packed in time?
I see.
Excuse me, Jeremy. Yes, Sue.
I've got a seat on the plane leaving at 4:30 and one back on the 5:30 on Friday.
Good. And have you got a dress clean and ironed you could wear to a cocktail party this evening?
Yes.
Good. I'll pick you up at 6. Oh, and Sue, send this thing back, will you? It's too civilized. Well, off you trot, Jeremy. Pick up your clean knickers. And Jeremy, if anybody asks you where you're going, make absolutely certain that you tell them.
Do you remember that song, I Enjoy Being a Girl?
Yes, I think I saw the show.
That was my favorite song till I started going to the psychiatrist. Actually, I'm very fond of my psychiatrist. They say it's perfectly normal.
I think that...
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Fancy meeting me. You told me last night that you would go back to Manchester.
I changed my mind.
Oh. Well, what are you doing here?
We do have some mutual friends left, one or two.
The very most. What are you doing here?
I was brought.
Who by?
By whom?
All right, Clever Dick. By whom were you brought by, then?
Oh, you wouldn't know him. Who were you brought by?
Circumstances beyond my control.
Is that your new secretary?
Which one?
The glamorous one.
No, that's my secretary on the left, the rather nice girl.
Oh, pretty.
And I don't.
No? You haven't stopped mixing pleasure with business?
I don't like the knowing looks when you're giving dictation.
Who is the other one?
Business.
Wow.
Believe it or not.
Oh, I bet she's very good at it, whatever her business is.
Armaments.
Armaments? Well, that's a nice everyday job for a quiet, home-loving girl. I bet she gets a lot of satisfaction out of it.
Yes, not from me, as it happens.
No? Oh, perhaps you haven't been feeling very well.
You want a good hiding, don't you?
Oh, I'd love it. Why don't you fancy her, then?
She's too obvious.
Yes, you can see that from here. Or should I say those? Still, I bet she's got a very nice nature underneath it all.
And pretty boobies.
Well, you've seen two. You've seen them all, I always say.
Do you? Well, you can take it from me. That's hopelessly inaccurate.
I vow to a greater experience.
Matter of fact, she's quite good at her job.
Good. Well, that is important as well, isn't it?
As well as what?
As well as pretty boobies, after all work and no play.
I'm going to take you outside and beat you black and blue.
Oh, but you won't, will you? Are you sure you don't want me to find you the money?
No, I told you.
All right.
I've got it all fixed. It's all settled.
Good. Wouldn't be a bit surprised if she was in love with you, you know?
Who?
Your secretary.
Oh, rubbish.
Quite, but she doesn't know that yet.
Look, who did you come with?
Nobody, just somebody I know. Nobody. I don't ask you who you got the money from, do I?
Joe, this is nice. We didn't know you were going to be here.
Oh, well. Surprising things, parties. You never know who's going to turn up, do you? Ah, you brought your friend, I see. Well, this is my wife, Mr. Crumpacker.
I'm delighted, Mrs. Hind. I'm Kronberger, actually.
Oh, yes, that's Crumpacker.
Is your wife here, Mr.
Burger. No, I'm afraid that wouldn't be possible, Mrs. Hind.
Or the children?
And the fact I move around the world a lot, yeah.
Oh, yes, I know Mr. Cronenberger, a traveling man.
Yes, well, look, I just have something to discuss with Mr. Kronberger.
Cronenberger?
If you'll excuse us, Joe, a word or two?
Yes, excuse her.
Thank you.
She gives marvelous parties, Mrs. Berryman, don't you think?
Charming lady. Charming. It always used to give me such pleasure when her invitation...
We didn't know you knew her.
Didn't you? Well, there you are, then. It's part of life's great panorama, isn't it?
Yes. I first met Mrs. Berryman. Let's see, it was the first time that I was appointed to come to Europe. It must have been around the time...
So you're not interested, Mr. Hine?
Yes, I'm interested.
Oh, sure.
That's very disappointing, Mr. Hine.
Well, are you not interested? Just say.
We don't have unlimited time, as you may realize.
What is it? Has something gone wrong?
No, I'm interested.
Oh, I'm sure that Mr. Hine has both of our country's best interests at heart.
Mr. Windsor has flown to Cebat, I understand.
Yeah.
Who is Mr. Windsor?
A moment or two, Mr. Mayhew.
I've got a contract out there.
We can get you out of that.
Oughtn't me take a loss?
Not necessarily.
Oh, well, that's very nice of you.
Oh, nothing to do with being nice, Mr. Hine. Are you not interested?
Well, I'm interested, but you see, 25,000 just won't cover it. I've got to make sure I play both ends against the middle. That's a normal business safeguard. I can't afford to take a loss, and I'll have to pay some form of compensation.
What would cover it?
Well, make me an offer.
26.
Nowhere near.
How near is nowhere near, Mr. Hine?
That's for you to find out, isn't it?
I'm terribly sorry, but I don't know exactly...
A moment or two, Mr. Mayhew. Just give us a moment or two.
Yes, but could
Please.
Mr. Hine, we realize you don't want to make a loss. Naturally, we don't expect you to, but we must have some idea of the area we're talking. Now, how much, in your estimation, would you need?
What are you saying about Mrs. Berryman's parties?
Oh, charming lady. Charming. Absolutely charming.
Here, Liz.
No, thanks.
Thank you. How's Manchester, Liz?
All right.
Only that, all right.
The offices keep me busy.
No time to stop and think. He's such a bloody fool.
You should know better, Walpole.
At my age.
At any age.
How long is it now, Liz? A year?
17 months, 2 weeks and 4 days.
It's a long time to be apart.
Depends, doesn't it? A day's a long time for some people.
We've just beaten them up to 29,000. Well, how about that?
Aren't we the clever fella?
What's up with you?
Got it all tied up, haven't you?
Didn't know you brought Liz, Walpole.
I wish I had.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have known. It's business.
Oh, no, Liz.
Excuse me.
Who did she come with?
No, I'm a clue.
Oh, come on, cheer up. They're being very realistic.
Realistic? Give you nearly 30 times what you'd have made on the deal.
You don't know that, Walpole. You know a lot of things, a lot more than you let on sometimes, but you don't know that.
I'm not far out.
Well, look, it pays off my surtax. It pays off the arrears of the mortgage of the villa in Malta. And I've beaten it up to a profit.
If you recall, I didn't ask you to do anything.
Oh, well, you hoped I might do something then, didn't you?
Actually, I hoped you wouldn't.
Oh, God, you are complicated, Walpole.
Do you want some advice?
No, I don't think so.
Well, you're going to get it. Take the money and run. Don't hang around questioning your motives.
Yeah, I'm not. It's you who's questioning my motives.
Well, don't hang around listening to me questioning your motives.
You've been drinking,
A
Walpole.
little.
You're having a right treat tonight, aren't you?
I wish you hadn't agreed.
Why not?
wasn't necessary.
Look, I've done everything that everybody wants me to do. I've beaten it up to a profit, and we're all happy. You said your department...
Bloody necessary. Now it's just one more market lost to this country. We couldn't stand out against the Americans, even though there wasn't an agreement on Sabbat, but you could have. You could have set up you if you'd wanted to. But you'll do anything for money, won't you?
Yes, almost anything, yeah.
Yes. Well, it's an enviable trait, the single mind. You've got what you want, and my minister's going to be very happy.
Well, you'll get a nice pat on the boss, and what more could you ask for, eh? So it's all turned out very nicely, hasn't it?
Oh, ecstatic.
Come on, cheer up, Walpole. Now they put civil servants back on the honours list. You might well be looking forward to a touch of the Rise Sir Walpoles in a year or two.
I'll be willing to lay any odds that you'd wangle one first. It looks as if they're all leaving.
Good night, Walpole.
Good night, Liz. Oh, what are you doing now?
I'm leaving. All play and no work just means everybody else keeps questioning your motives. Sue, you going? I'll run you home.
Did you know your wife was going to be there?
No.
You were talking to her for a long time.
I didn't know you had a stopwatch.
Is she trying to get you back?
No.
Would you go back if she wanted you to?
No.
Why not?
For God's sake, don't you bloody start.
I see. And how do they intend to make payment? Monthly, quarterly, or at the end of the year?
No. I made it a condition that I get the whole cheque immediately, on the nail.
And they agreed to that?
Yeah.
I suppose if we were being honest about this, it doesn't really come under the heading of a fee, does it? It would, I suppose, come more under the heading of a bribe, wouldn't it?
Yes, I suppose so. Why does that offend you, Freddie?
Not as long as I don't actually have to write it down in the accounts as a bribe.
Oh, the horrible possibility that an accountant of all people might be connected with the taking of a bribe, eh? By the way, there's no tax on it.
I think you'll find there is.
I think you'll find there isn't.
Why?
Because I tell them I didn't want to pay any tax on it.
And how do you imagine they're going to avoid you doing that?
Well, I think they'll have a word in the Inland Revenue's ear.
One may disagree with the administration of Inland Revenue, but one would be very hard put to believe they were actually dishonest.
You've obviously got more faith in people's ability to withstand pressure from above than I have.
And you think the Americans will bring pressure to bear?
No. The Americans will pay the tax themselves.
Oh, I see. Well, that's going to cost them a bit, isn't it? You really must have them over a barrel. Well, I'm relieved at least to learn it's all going to be honest.
Oh, for God's sake, Freddie, grow up. It's not honest. Any of it. Is it?
It's my job to make it look as though it is. Don't give me a hard time, Joe.
Hello, Freddie.
Jeremy.
There you are.
Uh-huh.
Hello, Joe. Hello, Jeremy. How do you get on?
Shakerilla sends his best wishes.
Good. How is he?
Very well. I, let him know I was on my way somewhere else. Just dropped in to see if he was happy. He's quite overwhelmed.
Good.
Sends you this.
Oh.
And he's looking forward to getting his delivery of ammunition we promised him.
He's not getting his delivery of ammunition we promised him.
He's not getting his delivery of ammunition we promised him. Well, I'm glad I didn't know that before I went out there. Nor him. I'd have had to get a bigger briefcase to bring my head back in. Why isn't he getting it?
It's simply that we don't understand, Mr. Hine.
It's become impossible.
You had a contract with us?
Well, we'll make compensation.
We aren't looking for compensation, Mr. Hine. We are looking for ammunition. The Sheikh assumed your contract to be your promise.
There are other places to get ammunition.
You are the third European dealer who has withdrawn this week. Why has it suddenly become impossible? We are a small nation, Mr. Windsor, no more than about 9 million people. But it would be preferable for certain larger powers if we chose or were forced to align ourselves with one of the two political groups. It would be...
I know. Tidier.
We don't wish to be tidy to please others. We wish to be independent. We have been so for several thousand years.
Yes, I understand that.
We are not an aggressive nation. We don't have enough population to frighten anybody. But we would prefer to survive.
Look, Mr. Matthias, I'll do everything I can to find someone who will supply you with what you need.
I think you are going to find it difficult in Western Europe at the moment. And if this is the case, I suspect we may need the ammunition very soon.
Is this true?
These days we all live in darkness and with dangers compassed round, don't we, Mr. Hine?
I am very sorry.
And we are disappointed. We had thought that if not your word, then your contract was your bond. Thank you for lending me your time.
Miss Gray will see you out, Mr. Matthias. So... Yes.
All right.
Well, that's somewhere else we can't go back to.
All right.
We'd be lucky to make the Sheikh's garden party list, I should think, if there's anywhere left standing to have a garden party in a couple of months.
All right, Jeremy, leave it.
Still, it pays you surtax, doesn't it?
And your bloody wages, sonny!
Oh, hello.
I see.
Coffee?
Well, thank you for keeping my table for me.
Not at all. I've come to like it here. Oh, another coffee, please, and one for me, and a slice of that delicious chocolate gâteau. You did say you'd buy me one of those, didn't you?
I haven't cashed the check yet.
Oh, haven't you? I would if I were you.
Well, what are you so cheerful about?
Well, you never know with sudden unexpected wealth. It may be fairy gold and turn to dust by morning if my grandmother was to be believed.
Including everything in Fort Knox?
Have you seen the Heavenly Twins recently?
No, I haven't. Why?
I just wondered. Ah, thank you, my dear. That's nice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pretty girl, isn't she? I should think she has a very nice nature, among a lot of other things.
Why didn't you tell me that all the European independents had been warned off this Sabbat thing?
I wasn't allowed to. Anyway, I didn't know myself till halfway through. How did you hear about it?
Matthias from the Sabbat consulate came round to see me.
Oh, did he? I don't suppose you're very popular out there, are you?
Nor did you tell me what the game was.
I didn't know that till halfway through either. That was when I tried to hint that you should not join in.
I don't suppose I would have done if I'd known.
It's too late now. If Sabbat is eliminated, we've all done our little bit to help, haven't we?
Why did you ask me if I'd seen Kronberger and Krumpak?
Take my tip and cash that check.
Why?
They're very, very angry with you, dear boy.
Why?
Because you cost them 10 times as much as anyone else to buy off. No one was doing any particular business out there, but you led them to suppose that you were doing an enormous deal.
I did have a deal.
Oh, shoot crates of ammunition.
Well, I had a deal. That's their problem.
Ah, I bet they'll just love paying for that villa of yours. They'll probably come and spend their holidays with you.
Well, they can't renege on the check. I've got it, and it's certified.
You have signed the contract, have you?
Yes, I have.
Then, as I warned you, you are now a United States employee. Well, aren't you?
I wonder why they've asked me round to have a drink with them before they leave this evening.
To give you your orders, dear boy. I'd be like to be there for that.
No strings. There were no strings. I meant it. I could have given you a check. It wouldn't have bounced.
Why, Liz?
Is that why you wanted to see me? Just to ask why?
You stayed on in London.
Yes?
With the business in Manchester screaming out to be managed. Now that's running out, Liz. That's desertion.
That's it. Irresponsibility. Some people never learn to be responsible, do they, Joe?
Anyway, it was a nice gesture. Or a clever one.
That's how you see it, isn't it, Joe? She tries to make it on her own. She can't. Any excuse to see you. Well, it's not like that. Not at all. Freddie said...
To hell with Freddie. He's an accountant. His business is arithmetic, not hearts and flowers.
Our arithmetic.
In this case, mine. But I'm not a charity case, Liz.
You'd never let me help, would you? Even if it meant going on national assistance.
Right.
Well, anyway, you're over your problem now, aren't you?
Yes. I'm over it now. In spite of what Freddie might say.
He didn't say anything. Well, not much. Why do you suspect anyone that we still have in common? Let me take you out to dinner tonight, Joe. Well, after all, it was supposed to be on me last time. You took over, you ordered, and you paid.
All right. You choose the place, then. But look, I've got to have a couple of hours. I've got somebody to see first.
Another time, Joe.
But it's an appointment, it's business.
I've spent what must add up to years waiting for you to show in bars and restaurants in that morgue at Isha.
Look, I'll call you. It'll probably not be more than a couple of hours.
No! Don't bother. I'll call you. In a couple of years.
Mr. Hine? Cheers. Well, gentlemen, I hear you're leaving.
Tonight.
We should be sending you a certain amount of documentary data we'd like you to study.
Oh, yeah?
Our department will require a full written report on your reactions to this data.
I see.
We shall also expect at least monthly reports on your opinions on any developments in the area you'll be concerned with on our behalf.
Would you? We take it you'll be paying regular visits to the area for first-hand information?
Such visits to be paid for by yourself.
Oh, you assume that, do you?
You have a contract with us to carry out consultancy work?
My contract says that such work shall be fitted in with my other interests, and it shall not be to their exclusion. I shall do it as and when and if I please.
Mr. Hine, you were paid a...
I was bribed, Mr. Kronberg.
You choose to think of it as a bribe, Mr. Hine.
Yes, I do. And after all, I drew up the contract, or at least the get-out clauses, and you were very happy to have me do it as long as I took the money. Don't worry, I'll send you a report one of these days, probably on the collapse of Sabat's independence and its causes. Well, gentlemen, let me buy you a drink. I think you must be feeling a little bit ex-succus.
What exactly does ex-succus mean, Mr.
I read it in a book last night. It means you're out of juice, baby. There you are, Freddie. You'd better get it paid into the bank as quickly as you can. Walpole Gibb thinks it might turn to dust.
It already has. You won't spend any of this, will you?
What do you mean? They can't stop it. It's certified.
A friend of mine in Inland Revenue rang me this morning. Apparently, the Americans won't be paying the tax. And they've told the income tax people exactly the amount involved. So, as this comes within the current financial year, I'm afraid what with the tax on this and last year's surtax, you're going to have to find a little in excess of this amount to cover both demands.
Oh, God, oh, bloody mighty! Does it never end?
It's still very unfortunate. I suppose the Americans decided if they were going to chop your head off for reasons I know nothing about, they might as well use the native axeman.
Not so ex-succus as one might have hoped.
Not so what?
I think it means never screw down the lid of a coffin until you're sure there's someone inside.